50 rupees per square feet is enough to build a compound wall. Hi there, this is Kunal here, the co-founder of Just Fence, and in this video, we are going to be talking all about compound walls. Firstly, let us come to the basic question, is a compound wall necessary in the first place? Now, most people think that building a compound wall is mandatory for every property. Let me tell you something, this is absolutely not true. Compound walls are necessary only if you require a very high degree of privacy, that people don't look into your property, or are looking for a very strong structure which will last for a very long period of time. And compound walls are also some of the strongest psychological deterrent because people are not able to see through. So if you feel that this is very important, then you should be going for it. So let us look at where are the areas where a compound wall is necessary and what are the kind of properties where it's not. Now, compound walls are mandatory in the following properties. Firstly is villas, for obvious reasons that you have your family inside and you want to ensure there's a degree of privacy there. Secondly is industries, you have a lot of raw materials and expensive items and you want to stop people from seeing inside. Then you have malls and other office buildings, government institutions, educational institutions, airports and railway stations, and finally hotels. So these are some of the places where compound walls are absolutely necessary. Secondly is compound walls are optional in some properties. Now, which are those properties? The first property is resorts. Now, in some resorts, they want people to kind of see through the beautiful landscaping that they have done. Secondly is inside some gated communities, they already have a strong compound wall on the outside. So they don't require compound walls inside. So villas inside gated communities is again an option. Thirdly is farmhouses, because these are normally in very large area which goes into acres, and constructing a compound wall can become a very expensive affair. The fourth is of course zoos and also restaurants. Yeah, there are also some properties where a compound wall is actually not needed. For example, if you take agricultural lands, now these are normally very large areas, multi-acres, and building compound walls can be a very expensive affair. Secondly, vacant lands. Now, you just want to protect the boundary of the property, and building a compound wall again adds to the cost, and there are a lot of other options through which you can also protect the boundary. Thirdly is parks. The entire landscaping goes for a toss if it is high walled. Forests again are huge areas, and again building compound walls is not feasible. Apart from that, roads and highways. Normally compound walls are not constructed there because you want some element of see-through. And finally is garden areas, again to not disturb the landscaping elements. Yeah, so these are some of the properties where a compound wall is actually not needed. But like always, exceptions are always there. For example, you may be doing, let's say, a sandalwood plantation, which is a very expensive crop. You will need to build a compound wall after a few years, even though it's an agricultural land, because after 4-5 years, the stem starts getting thicker and the plant starts getting value. So in order to protect it, compound wall is the strongest psychological deterrent. So you may need to put a compound wall after a few years. Now, if your property falls in the first and the second category, let us look at the various compound wall options that are there, starting from the strongest and quite naturally the most expensive to the most economical and the weakest. So the first type of compound wall that we would be seeing are the RCC compound walls. Now, this is the strongest compound wall that can be constructed, and it is also the most expensive, as the cement and steel that is used in its construction is very high. Normally, for such compound walls, a very strong foundation is done, and the process starts with a pile foundation, which is done every 12 to 15 feet, where the pillars would come up, and the thickness of these walls is at least 6 inches to 9 inches wide, and the foundation is even thicker. It's about 12 inches wide. The grade of cement which is used here is of very high strength, normally M30 or M40 grade. So where are these walls done? These walls are normally done where the difference in land area is a lot, like particularly like slopes, or where soil filling has been done, or if it is next to a water body and the soil is not really stable. These walls have a very high life, and they could easily last at least a few hundred years. Yes, you heard that right. These walls would last for at least a few hundred years. Now coming to the costing, the cost of such compound wall ranges anywhere between 400 to 500 rupees per square feet, inclusive of installation. Now some civil experts will not agree with this costing, and the reason for this is that we are calculating the rate for the wall which is above the ground level, and the reason why we are doing that is so that it becomes easier for us to compare the rate of this wall with the other wall options that we will be presenting now. The next type of walls that we are going to see are the Unislab precast walls. Now this is the latest technology when it comes to compound walls, and here the complete compound wall is made in the factory. Yes, you heard that right. Complete finish is done there, and the installation is done in the site in a super fast manner. The thickness of such walls is normally about 5 inches, and the pillar thickness is about 16 inches, and one slab is of the dimensions of 16 feet by 6 feet height. So these are huge panels, and the weight of one single slab is a whopping 2500 kgs or 2.5 tons. Hence the installation of such panels can be done only with a Hydra crane. Now, the biggest advantage of this compound wall is that very little labor is required at site, and complete walls can be installed in a very short space of time. And as most of the production happens in factory, all the labor and the theft issues that normally happen at site that one faces during the construction of a compound wall can be eliminated. So this is one wall which is getting a lot of traction in the Indian market. Now coming to the costing, the cost of such walls varies between 300 rupees per square feet to 400 rupees per square feet. Now this may seem a little expensive, but if we look at the overall picture, this is actually a very good option, because firstly you get uniform finish at site. Secondly, plastering and painting costs can be avoided as well. As you can see, it has a very good aesthetic finish. And most importantly, there is a massive saving in terms of time of construction. The next compound wall is the size stone masonry wall, also called as the SSM wall. Now, this is one of the most ancient and strongest wall options that is available to mankind. The minute we talk about stone masonry wall, you can recollect the castles, the fortresses, and also all the historic monuments. All of them have been made using size stone masonry. Even though this is a very good option, the biggest challenge with construction of such walls is the availability of stones nearby, as transportation can be very expensive as the stones are quite heavy. Also, these walls are much thicker compared to the other wall options which are present, with the thickness varying anywhere between 1 feet to 2 feet. And also some foundation is also required while constructing such walls. Now these walls are particularly useful if the soil is not stable, or if one wishes to give a more traditional and ancient look to their property. Coming to the costing, such walls cost anywhere between 200 rupees per square feet to 300 rupees per square feet, with the costing varying according to the thickness of the wall, the foundation required, and the cost of labor and stones. Also, as stones being a natural resource, it is constantly depleting. In some scenarios, these walls can get very expensive because locally the stones are not available and you have to bring them from very far off places. Next is the solid block, hollow block, or the brick masonry wall. This is a very popular wall option as the raw material needed to build these walls is readily available in almost every location. In most localities, it is very common to locate a solid block or a hollow block or a bricks factory. To construct such walls, firstly, a pile foundation is to be done wherever the pillar would be coming. Normally, this comes in a spacing of 10 to 15 feet. Then a bed of PCC or plain cement concrete is done, on top of which steel reinforcement is done where the foundation would be coming. And also, the steel reinforcement is also done where the pillars would be coming. Now the foundation is normally thicker than the wall, and it would vary anywhere between say 8 inches to 12 inches. The wall thickness is a bit thin, and this varies between 6 inches to 8 inches. Coming to the costing of such walls can vary anywhere between 100 rupees per square feet to 200 rupees per square feet. Once again, to do a like for like comparison, we are not actually calculating the cost of the wall which is going below the ground level. Although this is a very popular and common wall option, one has to be very careful about the extensive labor that is required to build such walls, as there is always the risk of theft of cement, sand, bricks and jelly from the side during the construction of the wall. Next is the precast or the pre-stressed compound walls. Now this is the latest wall option which is getting extremely popular due to its low cost, fast installation and low cost of production. The biggest advantage in this wall is that very large areas can be installed in a very short period, and the labor requirement is also not that much. Now these walls are modular in nature, with one panel being 6 feet or 7 feet depending on if it is a precast wall or if it's a pre-stressed wall. What exactly the difference between precast or pre-stressed will be covering in a different video. Coming to installation, the pillars are first installed and then the slabs are inserted into the grooves of the pillar one by one. In a very short period of time, the entire wall can be constructed. The slabs are normally around 50 mm or 2 inches thick, and the pillars are about 150 mm or 6 inches thick. Coming to the costing of this varies anywhere between 75 rupees per square feet to 125 rupees per square feet inclusive of installation, depending on what kind of cement grade is being used. Is it M10, M50, M20, M25, M30, and what is the exact thickness of the pillar and the slab. In precast, several design options are available, but in pre-stressed, only the plain slab or a block design is normally available. This wall option is now being increasingly used in industries, farmhouses and gated communities, as the installation is very fast and it is quite reasonable as well. Finally, we have the ultra low cost precast wall. Now this is the cheapest wall option available in India, and no other wall option comes close to this. This wall is made by reducing the specs of the precast wall, where instead of say 2 inches slab, you use about a 25 mm or a 30 mm slab, and the pillar, instead of it being 6 inches or 150 mm, you use a 4 inch, 100 mm or a 125 mm or a 5 inch pillar. The cement grade also which is used is very low, it's about M5 and M10. The specs are reduced in all aspects so that the price can be greatly reduced. Now what's the point in reducing the specs so much? The main reason for reducing the specs is so that the costing comes down. The costing for this precast wall comes in the range of just 50 rupees per square feet to 75 rupees per square feet. But these walls are not recommended if you're looking for something which is very high light. These are suitable if you're looking to build temporary walls that will last for a maximum of 2 to 3 years, especially let's say when a construction activity is going on in a site and you just want it for a very short period of time. Now that you have understood the different types of wall options available, please feel free to get in touch with us to consult on which wall type would be suitable for your property, or if you need a wall in the first place. As experts in property boundaries, we can give you an unbiased advice on what would be best for you and your property. Feel free to contact us on the below number or log on to our website www.justfence.in and reach out, and we'll be happy to help. Thank you so much. Have a great day.